Hello, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. And as you can see, folks, I am still living in the moment. I'm still excited. I'm playing some games. I'm enjoying the ROG Xbox Ally X. And I want to say a big thank you to the entire community that supported this one video. Normally when I do a video like that, you'll get a couple of hundred views. We're closing in on 2K, which is just absolutely bonkers. But yeah, thank you so much for all the really kind words. You do get a couple of people in there. One guy actually started out with, "Hey man, really great video. Good thing you can play all your Xbox games." Oh, you actually can't. You're a POS. I could not stop laughing because it started off so positive, and he called me a so it was great. Of course, that person got blocked, but yeah, for the most part, the messages have been really cool. Even got some messages from Xbox, which was really nice to hear. To be honest with you, because you just never know who's watching. So it's actually really cool, to be honest. I guess it's one of those in the moment things that happens, and you're like, wow, that's pretty powerful. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the ROG Ally and the ROG Ally X because there is an update there are going to be multiple updates happening already, and it's very exciting. I want to kind of just talk with the community, see if you went out and got the ROG Ally or the X. You let me know, and we'll talk. We'll give you a shout out on the air. Get the thoughts of the people on the panel. Did anyone buy it? Was I the only one? More importantly, are you considering it? And I want to have this conversation. I think it's necessary when you look at um, the response of games media. For the most part, the reviews have been pretty good, right? They've actually been pretty good. Listen, there's been some harsh ones. There's been some criticism, as there should be. There's been a mostly positive review, and I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, IGN. Listen, I don't really use IGN's reviews. Yes, they gave it a 9, and that's awesome. But I don't use them because usually their reviews are terrible. So I'm not going to now jump on IGN side and use it because they gave it positive. Listen, they gave it a 9. Great. The woman that reviewed it wrote it pretty. Was a really really good read. If you didn't read it, I did read it because I wanted to hear what she had to say. She had a lot of positive things to say, but there were a lot of other reviews. VGC did a really good one as well, and one of the things that I want to say I'm not surprised by, but I want to talk about it because it is a running conversation, and that is the anti-Xbox community, folks. Now, normally, we don't really do the names thing here because we're not trying to give anyone likes or clicks to their rhetoric. But I was again not surprised, but almost embarrassed for a lot of these people that all they did on launch day of this his devices try to suck the life or the excitement out of the Xbox community. And I gotta tell you, man, if that's the life you're living, wow, man. I mean, can you just play some games, Crispy Bomb? It would be nice because you're worried about my pocket. Maybe you should just sit back and enjoy games on, I don't know, play your PS5 and maybe go out and buy Ghost of Yotai because not a lot of people did. But we'll get into that. How you feeling, Crispy? Welcome back.
Feeling good. Another day, and yeah, there's a lot of salt going on as well. So it was quite hilarious, some of the meltdowns. But we're
Some of
gonna
the
get into
meltdowns
it.
were pretty epic, to be honest with you. And as everyone would say, those tears taste delicious. So we will get into that conversation. That's good. Again, folks. That's one of those conversations that are going to be a little bit open ended, and we don't know who's going to say what or who's going to say whatever. But that's what we enjoy these conversations for. But Silent Cipher, my brother, it's great to have you back here. How are you feeling, bro?
Good morning. It's great to be with you guys. Yeah, there were a lot of people having a meltdown over the.
Crazy, just crazy. I mean, honestly. But it's good to have you here. We'll get into your thoughts on the whole thing. But second half of the show, folks, before we welcome in the best bald head in the business, or one of at least in Fuzzy. Second half of the show, I saw this pop up on a lot of my feeds late last week and early this week, and there's just been so much going on that I haven't had a time to talk about this. And that is the report of the PlayStation 6 being less powerful, but coming in at a lower price. I have some serious thoughts. Now, this is the story that we're going to be using is from VGC. And I got some thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, because again, we talk about Fuzzy goalpost moving. It's a consistent thing in the games media conversation, but more importantly, the games community, where something isn't an Xbox until it fails, or a game or studio or platform is not part of Xbox until it fails, and then it becomes an Xbox. Well, I was always under the impression that, again, you know what? I'm going to save my thoughts. Good morning, Fuzzy. How you feeling, brother?
Good morning. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, social media has been a bit of a weird place as far as people calling things an Xbox or not calling things an Xbox. Since Xbox on the box, so I don't know what to tell you, but I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, it's crazy out there. You would think a certain platform, preferred platform group would play Ghost of Yotai, or maybe even Baby Steps, that game of the year that they showed at a State of Play like a year or so ago. But no, they're worried about Xbox being on the shelf or not being on the shelf or being dead or whatever the narrative is this week. But yeah, we'll definitely get into it.
It's going to be fun. And shout out to Music 72. How dare you, kind sir? He says, Boom has some thoughts. It's definitely Shocktober. Insulted on my own show. I should ban him, right? No. I'm just kidding. Music 72. I'm pulling a Dirt Griggity because Dirt Griggity really gets it by his community. And he's, I am appalled for that man. But shout out to you for being here, Music. Love your interactions as always. But you know what? Let's get into what happened yesterday. Of course, the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X finally released. Shout out to Tim the Sorcerer, who unfortunately got a model that had some dead pixels in the left-hand corner. So he's returned it. He's going to be getting a new one. Hopefully, they send that to you rather quickly, brother. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. But what he played, what he was able to use it, he enjoyed it. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that you know how I feel about putting myself up front. Like, I don't mind getting the tomatoes or the arrows. That never really bothers me because my opinion is always going to be just that, mine. And I really think that I'm the best case scenario or the best case subject for this thing. And like I said, there were a lot of people that tuned into the video yesterday, so I'm really, really appreciative of that. When I asked the question of who this is for, like, honestly, who is the Xbox Ally X or the Ally is for, it is really for people like me. And when I say people like me, I'm talking about non-PC gamers. Like, I have a PC, obviously, because I have to, I live stream 5 days a week. So it's got to be semi-powerful because I got to do the video editing and all of the art assets and everything that goes into making this show run. And it has to have what I need, in the PC. Can it play games? Yeah, I can play some games. I mean, I don't think I'm going to play The Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk on this thing, to be honest with you. But I don't want to. And what I really do like about what I've used the Xbox Ally X so far is it does, in some instances, feel like I'm using a console, right? It has the UI is very friendly. Hitting the Armory Crate button to getting into all the settings is literally just that. It's hitting one button, getting into the settings, playing with the settings, and just hitting the Xbox button and going home, and it works that easy. It really is. It's simplistic in nature. Um, I've said this yesterday, what I'm actually hoping for at some point is that, and I know for a fact that they're working on this because they literally have said it publicly. Their goal is to have a unified UI that is just the same thing on any screen that it's on. So if you're playing on your phone, it's going to look and act like what's on your console. When you're playing on your TV via the cloud, it's going to look and act like what you're using on your handheld. That's where they need to go. I would imagine, and you've actually heard people say this, is that this is being used, this partnership, this partnered OEM device is being used as I guess, a test study for what their own handheld is going to look and act like in 2027. Now, obviously, it's still a rumor, and we're going to get into it a little bit as well. There was an interview with Sarah Bond with ABC News. I do have that queued. It's only about 3 minutes, so I think we could probably listen to that and get what she said. But she clearly, invited this reporter into a space that they normally don't have people walked into. And she said, this is where we are currently prototyping the next Xbox generation console. I mean, I don't know how much more she needs to say or what Xbox needs to do, but they have a console coming out, and it was one more confirmed on ABC News. I mean, if that's not good enough for you folks, I don't think anything actually is ever going to be. But I do want to get into everyone's thoughts on whether you have it or you don't. I think everyone on the panel here and everybody in the chat, I want to hear what you have to say about it, because listen, if you have criticism for the device because you bought it and you don't like something about it, you should tell someone like Jason Ronald, tag them in the socials, let them know that because they are always open for feedback, and this thing is going to continue to grow. And thanks to Clobriel, he put out a tweet yesterday, and again, this comes the way of xboxnews.com, a bunch of features coming in the next couple of weeks. That is, again, this console the handheld, I don't want to say console, I didn't get tomatoes, but the handheld just released, and they already have updates for it, folks. I really think they're ahead of the curve, and this thing is going to be exactly what we want it to be. But I'll start off with Crispy Bomb. Crispy, listen, we were talking in the background, and in my video that I did yesterday, this is one of those devices that's not for everybody because, unfortunately, right now in this country, I don't think there is a family, unless you are someone that you're either working in a super high position and you're making a lot of money, or you come from money. And listen, if you do, awesome. No one's a hater here. But I think the average American family right now is looking to cut costs, and it's becoming more and more difficult. So for a lot of gamers, $1,000 or almost $1,100 after tax is a ridiculous investment. I bought it. I told everyone why I bought it, how I bought it, because I'm transparent like that. I was not taking this money out of the house fund to buy this, and I almost canceled it. I literally said, I told Mrs. Boom, I don't know, honey. I think we should I'm going to cancel it, and just, and she's like, oh, don't do it. You're going to hate yourself. And of course, I tell everyone she is ultimately the greatest voice of reason. I got it. I'm glad I did. But I didn't take money out of the house fund because I'm not going to do that. I'm just not. But Crispy, let's talk about the launch. Again, this is an open-ended conversation. You want to talk about the device? Awesome. You want to talk about the affordability? That's great. But I think that a lot of people in the chat are going to want to hear how, instead of, and listen, folks, I'm not trying to be slanderous, but everyone that I am talking about is a part of the PlayStation problem. They are so negative, that community, that honestly, I only know a handful of people, like the Bit Clouds and the Mr. Bad Bits. But after that, man, it's slim pickings for the people that are not disingenuous POSs. I'm sorry. They just really are. And what some of the things I saw, I mean, I saw threads of people trying. I mean, they were backflipping. They were part. They looked like the way that they were acting on the socials, Crispy, is that they were part of Cirque du Soleil. That they were bending themselves in ways to try and get their point across. And I'm like, bro, it's just not that serious. It's a handheld. Get over it, man. I mean, go play your Portal if you want to play a handheld that bad. Go buy Ghost of Yotai, because guess what? The PlayStation community that touts 88 million consoles sold didn't. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, it is pretty wild about all of that. As far as me, I look at it. I look at the reviews. They are pretty consistent that they have a long road to go to really,
Yes.
put this in the forefront of really, truly feeling like an Xbox. So it's going to take some time. I feel like, a lot of people will give them hate, like, hey, this should be already like, set and ready to go. A lot of things now, it's just you might as well get the hands-on approach from the consumer, get your feedback. They probably already have plenty of feedback, and start there, because at the end of the day, I'm looking at the future under the TV console. That's what, if I'm going to spend that type of money, I'm going to go for something like that. That's for me, though. I don't travel much, work a lot. That's just the way, spending $1,000 or even $600 right now seems like a tall task for, what I would use it for, which, being a handheld, I don't know how much I would use it. So, I would like to see them, continue to do the updates. Of course, Boom has it. Yeah, I'm going to take, because me and him are similar gamers. He starts saying, hey, this thing really feels like an Xbox. I might consider it. That said, acting like the branding isn't there for a reason, and acting like it is or isn't an Xbox, or it's a hybrid, which that's the way really we've looked at it. It's Xbox branding, but it's a hybrid PC handheld. We've really always been saying that. So everybody jumping through hoops and this and that, you're entitled to your opinion, but to my knowledge, you guys just had a great game come out, and all you're talking about is Xbox all the time. And trust me, I'm one of those that doesn't block everybody. And I keep seeing it. And I'm like, this is the problem. Or they're comparing it to the PS5 Pro. And I'm like, where in the logic do we have that comparison anyway? Like, we're talking like, I wouldn't even compare this to the Series X, because it's a totally different thing. And it's something that they're trying to make into what the Xbox ecosystem becomes. It is going to take time. And that's why you see, the Boom's a bunch of updates coming out. Okay. You're going to continue to see updates. They're going to be pushing really hard, because if you want to get to this point next year and have it really, feel like an Xbox, it is going to be a hard push to make this thing work to be able to make all the other things work. And I feel like they're going all in on this fact. They're going all in on cloud in a way.
Yep.
They're changing. Okay. They're changing once again. You see the monthly active users, they have data, people. Like, they see that these things will work eventually, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. And that's what they're pushing towards. And I feel like their budgeting and everything else is leaning towards these type of things. Do us old school gamers really like it? Maybe not. Maybe you're into it. Maybe you play on your phone. Maybe you don't. But to have these options, that's the way they're looking at it. And it's going to continue. So in realism, me personally, maybe next year, hey, it might look more attractive. Right now, it's not worth the money for me. So that's the way I have to look at it.
No, I mean, it's a great point. And I think there is something to be said about, and I even said it in the video yesterday, folks, please do your research. Don't just, follow like sheep. Yes, it's exciting to get in on the ground floor. It's new tech. It's an Xbox OEM device. It's the first one of its kind. It won't be the last one, ladies and gentlemen. But it's $1,000, right? That's a lot of money. And even at the $600 model, that's still $600. You know what I'm saying? So again, yes, both handhelds are awesome. They're doing some really cool things right now. They're going to do even cooler things in the coming weeks, months, and who knows what this thing is going to look like in a year. It's probably going to be incredibly different looking just based on how they're going to update this thing. So far, I've played Vampire Survivors. I've tried a few other games that I'm reviewing right now that work with no problem. I did go to load up Black Ops 6, and I did get a message saying that there might be some issues when it comes to like online. Do you still want to install? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to install it, and I want to see what Black Ops using the controller feels like on this thing. And of course, I'll get back to you. But again, I don't actually have a review for it because it's been it's a very stressful week because there's a lot going on. And I know, folks, please, it's not that I'm making light of the world. The world sucks right now, but I'm reviewing Ninja Gaiden 4. I'm reviewing The Outer Worlds, and I had this unboxing to do. It's a lot, plus doing 5 shows. And I know it's not real world problems, and there's a lot more going on that are more important than poor Boomstick. But just for me personally, because I do it solo, it's a lot. So I'm trying to, I'll get to it in a review and give you my final thoughts on this thing. But I need some actual play time. I am going to say that it does feel very natural. And what I did, to kind of test that is I have the original ROG, right? And what I didn't like about it is how the ROG, the OG ROG, kind of felt. Your hands had to be kind of in a weird way. You can hold it; it was fine, but it didn't feel natural in your hands. The Xbox Ally X, that controller it feels like literally just perfect in your hand, and it's not too heavy where it will numb your hands or anything dumb like that. It has weight, but it's not too heavy. But Silent Cypher, let's bring you in and get your thoughts on the launch of this thing. And again, this is one of those open-ended conversations. We're not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I gotta say, man, for a community that touts console sales and importance of first-party IP, Crispy's right. Like, since the release of Ghost of Yotai, outside of the, it was reviewed pretty well. I didn't see any like real negative reviews on it, and that's because it's probably a really good quality game. But instead of playing that game or talking about that game, the PlayStation community, man, they have for weeks now only talking about Xbox. And it's funny because, you keep hearing that, certain communities want Xbox gone. If that ever happened, some of these channels would just disappear because they wouldn't have anything to talk about because they're not talking about PlayStation. Let's get your thoughts on the Xbox Ally launch and more importantly, where you think they're going to go with, some of the updates that are going to be happening.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry. I accidentally muted myself earlier. I appreciate that you aren't as slanderous as me because
Oh no, please be as slanderous as you want, kind sir.
It's fine right now.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was funny. The last couple weeks, as you mentioned, every time that you jump online, every time you see a screenshot of something, they're talking about Xbox. That's quite a mind share that Microsoft has. That Sony fans are so angry that they're literally making it the headline all over the place all the time. I'm sure Ghosts of Yotai was great, but it sure doesn't seem like they care at all. When I jumped on yesterday, because I was curious to see like, okay, what are people saying? So I saw some screenshots from some of my friends in the chat, and they were highlighting all of the different people, and the usual suspects were all out there making all of the ridiculous claims over and over again. You saw your Reforges, you saw your generic Eric, you saw these guys that like literally all they did yesterday while I was playing video games, they were playing Twitter. And it was embarrassing because they're grown men. They should know better. And they should also know that like I don't care if you think it's an Xbox. Good for you if you don't. Like it literally says it on the box. It literally has this little gem right here. I don't know if you can see right there. There's this Xbox gem. The guide button. Yeah. I don't know what it's going to take for some of these guys to pull it out, like pull their heads out and realize that like, yeah, it's an Xbox. Is it a console like what we're used to? No. But is a product that is in the Xbox ecosystem that plays your Xbox games and plays a bunch of other stuff too. And like we've talked about in the past, they don't like that it's an Xbox that can also, as it turns out, play PlayStation games on Steam. So it's one of those things where it gets them really angry. I think partly because I can play those games on an Xbox product, right? And it was interesting to see. Like I figured if it did really bad, they would have been like, "Oh, this is an Xbox."
Yes,
and
there
it's
you
so
go.
horrible and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But since it did really well, they're like, "Oh, well, it's not an Xbox. It's an Asus ROG Ally." What? Okay, sure. Do whatever mental gymnastics you need to make it not an Xbox in your mind. That's fine. But I was trying to. This was a dangerous operation, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to put my mind into the mind of a pony. I'm going to try and figure out like.
I think you might have lost some brain cells,
Xbox
brother. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I did. Yeah, I woke up this morning with a bad headache, like I was hungover. I was like, this isn't good. But I tried to figure out like, okay, what makes it not an Xbox? Okay, is it that? And I got to give a shout out to oh no, it's Alex. He touched on this and detailed it very well. But like, is it that it doesn't play all of your games? Because if that's the case, like if it doesn't play all of my back library and all that stuff, then technically I guess a PlayStation 5 is not a PlayStation because it can't play my Metal Gear Solid that I got hanging up right there. It can't play my Killzone or Resistance or anything from PS3. It can't play those games, so I guess a PlayStation 5 is not a PlayStation. Like, what are we doing? This is the dumbest move. Like, have we heard of generations? Like, back compat's not always been a thing. So when you move on to the new system, there are games that don't always go over with it, right? You can still play games, but you might not have that back compat initially. It's really weird. Like, I don't understand why that's a thing for them. And if that's the logic as to why it's not an Xbox, then whatever. That's fine. Like you keep living that. Go play your old games on your PlayStation. See how far that gets you. But I think it usually goes back to the same argument over and over again. Is if it can play Sony games on it via Steam or whatever, they just don't want to accept it. Yeah. Like Paris says in the chat, is like Xbox is evolving the platform, and the Xbox Ally is phase 1. It's very much that. It's a platform. It's not just about a plastic box anymore. It's about the fact that you can play it everywhere, and that's what they're working on. Like I don't know. It was an interesting day yesterday, though. Like I saw a lot of very disingenuous takes out there, and I was just like, dear Lord, what are we doing? Like, again, I spent most of yesterday playing games.
Yes,
and
me as well.
And then when I came on and I saw all the screenshots and screen grabs of everyone losing their mind on there, I was like, okay, cool. Like I booted up Forza Horizon 5 on it. I threw Brotato. I threw a few of the other like smaller ones real quick. I've had a blast with it. Like I can safely say, they fixed issues that I had with the original ROG Ally, because the ergonomics, like you said, ergonomics were a thing that I didn't really dig on the first one. But those controller handles make a big difference. I know it's a weird thing. I know that you can get cases to try and make it better. It's not the same. Like, this thing designed with those controller grips in place, it makes a difference. And the other thing that I had with it was the Xbox UI, the wrapper, right? When I started this thing up, I got a couple updates. I connected to my Wi-Fi, and then it kicked me right into my Xbox wrapper.
Yes.
I was like, oh, awesome. Like, that's
Super quick.
exactly what I wanted. And from what I've tried so far, really good. I don't have arguments or complaints with it so far. I've got to mess around with it more and see if I can break it. But so far, I've really enjoyed it.
You know what's interesting? I'm glad you made mention of that. And shout out to Paris being in the chat. Great to have you here, brother, as always. Good unboxing and great conversation you and Danny had regarding the release and your experience with it. And again, I really like putting myself at the forefront of the conversation because I'm not a PC guy. Everyone knows that. I say it all the time. And I did not like my experience on the original ROG. I understand and understood how to use the Armory crate, but it wasn't a good feeling UI. It wasn't for me. This is fantastic. Like, there's no way to get lost in doing this thing because of the Xbox guide button. You press it, the sub menu comes up, you press home, and you're right back to it. It's really that simple. So even if you accidentally went into desktop mode, one button press and you're back at your home screen. And that's literally what it's called. So I am very much enjoying it. It is now, I at some point, if again they want the feedback, I would love for them to figure out a way to do quick resume. I don't know if it's possible with this thing, like it does with your console. I'm sure that they're working on it. It's probably listen, quick resume is one of the least discussed things about this generation, and it is by far one of the greatest additions to gaming ever. If you don't use it, I hear you, but I have always run in like 5-6 games, and it's just a matter of clicking and going right back to it. Now, some of them are like Vampire Survivors, which is always there because, well, I love Vampire Survivors. And it's one of the first things that I downloaded on the Xbox, the Ally X, along with Silksong. But yeah, that's I do hope that they might be able to get that running. I don't know if it's possible, folks, because I don't know PC like that, but I would absolutely like that. But hey, Fuzzy, let's bring you in. I don't know if you got a chance, if you picked it up or not.
Not yet.
But there is, again, it's one of those things that we saw. The reviews came out. Most of the reviews were positive. Like Paris said, it is a starting point for what they're going to do and what Xbox is going to be in the future. I think that this is exciting if you're an Xbox fan, simply because of the fact that the next device we know cannot be just another Series S or X. Why? Because they failed. They're not selling them right now. Nobody wants to buy an Xbox, but that may change a bit if the next Xbox is something that's different, something that's hybrid. And we have now, anyone that has purchased this handheld has seen what the future of Xbox is going to look like. You want to hook up your Steam, you want to link your Steam account, your Good Old Games account, your Epic Games Store. You can do all of that. And it's very simple to get into these stores, download a game, or just play the game. It works seamlessly. I want to get your thoughts on, the launch, some of the reviews, but I really, and again, folks, I don't like doing the negative stuff because that's not the kind of brand we have here. but I do think it's worthy of a conversation. And it is, Paris, because he's in the chat, had put out a tweet, and I'm paraphrasing, about just getting back to playing games. And I think somewhere for Xbox gamers, that's an everyday occurrence. We just want to play good games, especially because Xbox Game Pass is getting bombarded with them. This month is just crazy. And
Yeah.
later today, we're going to get Keeper, which I freaking cannot wait to play. That's one of the review codes I didn't get. And honestly, I'm glad. I'm overwhelmed with what I'm reviewing right now. And it's just a lot. So now I'm just going to sit back and enjoy what Tim Schafer and the team at Double Fine did. I think it's going to be a sleeper hit, just from what I've seen. Again, I have not played it yet. It's dropping into Game Pass later. I'm going to play it. I'm so excited, because every time I think of a Tim Schafer joint, I always think of Tim Burton. I mean, I know they're two different Tims, but the way that Double Fine makes their games reminds me of a lot of the early Tim Burton work. And I'm a big fan of Tim Burton and some of the stuff he did, especially like Nightmare Before Christmas is a perfect example. But let's get your thoughts on how the reaction from the anti-Xbox community really went out of their way to kind of sour a very exciting moment for Xbox players.
Yeah. As someone that just checks in on social media every now and then, I try not to spend too much time there. It's funny to me to see people making this extra effort to downplay a device, whether they're a fan of that platform or not. You would think they would have better time putting towards, baby steps or go see Yotai or something along those lines. Whether it's an Xbox to you or not, shouldn't really matter. If you get one of these and you're playing games that are Play Anywhere titles within your Xbox library, or you're subscribed to Game Pass and you have Game Pass Ultimate, it's definitely a worthwhile device for somebody that may have been outside the Xbox ecosystem to let this be their entry point. Because if they haven't already dipped into PC, they were just either on Nintendo or PlayStation, they can still play some of at least the PlayStation games that make it to PC. I'm not going to get into the emulation stuff for Nintendo, but as far as having access to Xbox games through your subscription or through the direct sales that they may have purchased over at Epic or even over at Steam, I would say it's a worthwhile device in that regard. For somebody already in the Xbox ecosystem, if you didn't already have a PC or weren't looking to game on your non-gaming laptop, this would be a good in-between device for you. I know the price point isn't great for everyone. Like I said before, I think even though it didn't necessarily get as good of a review or recommendation, I think it's more so that the enthusiasts that are looking at that device don't see its worth in comparison to somebody that hasn't used one of these PC handhelds. So if you're new to PC handhelds or new to PC gaming in general, it's still a worthwhile device. Is it going to be better than the Steam Deck? It'll outperform the Steam Deck, but it is a bit pricier than what you can get a Steam Deck for until you start looking at a brand new 1 terabyte OLED screen type of deal. But all of that stuff aside, this is a great way to dip your toe into the PC space as far as gaming. So if you've been like many people that have, added things to your library on the Epic Game Store, even though you didn't have a PC to play those on, you would now have a device that you can do that with. And sure, you can do that on a Steam Deck, but it is a little bit more as far as jumping through hoops, as far as getting that attached to your Steam library to be able to play on there, or basically side loading it, or putting it in the desktop mode and then accessing it that way, which I don't necessarily recommend. But for those that are on the fence, and this might be out of their price bracket, but they still want to participate in this PC Xbox platform type of deal, there are plenty of ROG Allies and Legion Go's out there that you might be able to pick up on the cheap right now. They may not be as potent as the current offerings. Some of them are going to be pretty close, especially if you're looking at a Z1 Extreme. That's going to outperform what the Z2A is going to do, which is like the $600 one. And you might be able to pick one up for around that used or open box. So that would be something to take a look at. But all in all, I think it's exciting because this answers the question that a lot of people have had as far as when it comes to title skipping Xbox. They come to PC, they come to PlayStation, but it might be a year or so before it comes to Xbox, or it might not come to Xbox at all. Now, if you have a Steam account, you can link it to your Xbox account, purchase those games over at Steam, and have access to them on this device. And it's, I wouldn't say as seamless as it possibly could be. They can tweak some things, and this is something that's going to be I wouldn't say a work in progress, but something that they're going to constantly evolve and work on and refine the actual experience. But right now, when it comes to a PC handheld, I would say this UI, just based on its layout, is going to be one of the best ones to go with, as far as, unless you're a tinkerer and want to do your own custom layouts and things like that, like somebody like Kayasante has been doing on his handhelds for years now. I would say this is best out of the box. And like I said before, if you are not picking this up, but you already had a ROG Ally, or you already had a Legion Go, and you're looking to overwrite the original, Windows install that's on there, I believe there are ways to be able to download this UI to those. It's in like beta form, I think, but for the most part, with maybe the exception of a few button presses in certain menus and things like that, it should work just as well as this new device. So I would say look at those as well. Don't let the price keep you away from this type of potential, expansion into gaming, because there are more affordable options. But keep an eye on these prices. Hopefully they don't get as affected over time as consoles have when it comes to tariffs and such. There have been some bumps on these handhelds in the past, but usually it's within $50, and Amazon's been pretty great at absorbing a lot of that. Best Buy, not so much, but they do price match over at Best Buy. So if you have a Best Buy card, you can always have them try and match Amazon. And the same thing with Micro Center, and a few other these big box stores that focus on electronics and computer parts and things. So I'm happy that this thing is now released. I've spent too much money over these past couple of months in video editing and filming stuff. So I'm one that doesn't like putting things on the card unless I have cash in hand to pay it off before the end of the month kind of deal. So next month, I will more than likely get my Ally X. But as it stands right now, I've been pretty happy with this thing. The Steam Deck, and this is a launch one, the original LCD with the anti-glare screen and 512, which back when that first came out, I think I paid $650 for it. So it feels like a waste in comparison, because now you can pick the same device up for around the $350 mark. But in the grand scheme of things, these handheld devices is what got me into more of the side scroll and Metrovania and roguelike type games, as well as playing some of my bigger games on here, like playing something like a Forza Horizon 5, because, and I've mentioned this before, take the car in for an oil change, because I'm arthritis doesn't work too well when you try to change your own oil, and I haven't bothered doing that since I stopped driving Jeeps. So yeah, go to the car dealership, cars being serviced, I bring this with me and play those games there while I'm either on their Wi-Fi or just play it offline, because it's either natively installed or something along those lines. So there's a lot more stuff that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. You can still do remote play on this device. So if you want to remote play what's on your console, you can. You can stream from the cloud, especially if you have a Game Pass subscription that has cloud included. Any of the Play Anywhere titles that you own or have through Game Pass, you're able to play on here. And there's some apps out there, although I haven't tried it on this latest Xbox device, but people have been doing it and have step-by-step procedures on how to do it. Chiaki and PX Play are ways that if you are a PlayStation player as well and you want to be able to do remote play and you didn't bother picking up a Portal, you can basically do what the Portal can do on that device by installing that app and just linking it to your PS5. So there's a lot of variety and just a customization that you can do. But if you're new to PCs and you don't want to do the customization, the out-of-the-box experience is going to be great for you. It's going to improve over time. Probably the biggest thing now is going to be to see how many third-party developers start signing on for Play Anywhere. I think when they first announced this, there was like 1,000 games that are fairly recent for this generation of console that are Play Anywhere titles, and they keep on adding more and more each. It seems like every month. But yeah, I think we'll start to see a lot more Play Anywhere. yes, it's a tall ask of the third party because some of them are going to want you to double dip, especially the Take Twos or the rock stars of the publishing world and stuff like that. But all in all, I think this is a great device that will keep on getting better as time goes on. And by the time the next gen Xbox comes out, this is going to be synonymous with basically a portable version of that. Maybe not to the graphical fidelity level, but you will still be able to play the same games. Sure, you may have to turn down shadows or something like that, but with them having optimized tags on some of these games as well in the store, this is the next best progression before we get to that step with the next console. So for those that picked it up, enjoy it. For those that already have a PC handheld, consider doing the update on the UI. And for those that are on the fence, look at the lower prices on like a older version of a Steam Deck or an older version of a ROG Ally or Legion Go or MS Claw, and consider those. Although be mindful, the first versions of the MS Claw and Legion Go weren't necessarily the greatest, but putting the UI will definitely help things. But don't expect to run Witcher 4 at all the bells and whistles in like a year or two whenever Witcher 4 comes out. But you will be able to play the game, just not with ray tracing and specular highlights and things along those lines. But like I said, just like PCs can play, older PCs can play current games, just not as great looking. That's going to extend the lifespan on these PC handhelds. So a purchase today should give you at least a good 4 or 5 years of comfortable gaming, and then after about the 5-year mark, you're probably going to have to start turning stuff down. But I think you would get your money's worth within that time frame by then. So that's all I got.
No, great points all around, brother. Again, I love using myself as the out of the box user. And it does work great out of the box. I am not going to do a lot of the tinkering. And will I eventually? Sure. Like someone will be like, with Paris, I'll see something that Paris will do, or Keosande or Everborn. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then, I'll follow their lead. But for the most part, if you are just, and again, I said this in the video yesterday, who is this for? If you are an Xbox player, you're a console Xbox player. And why you have Xbox is because you like the brand and you love Xbox Game Pass and you play a lot of games out of now $30 a month service. This is definitely for you because it's going to play all those games and it's going to play them pretty damn well. So if you have been looking for a handheld that is Xbox centric, that does have a console like UI that's easily understandable, this is not a bad investment. Now, if you want to wait for all the kinks to be worked out, or you want to wait for all the updates to be updated, then you should. Because again, it is an investment. And speaking of updates, before we get on to topic number 2, when we catch up on Super Chats here, shout out to Clobriel, who, once again, he always has his pulse or his hands on the pulse of gaming. And this is just a quick breakdown of the updates that are, according to him, happening very, very soon. According to Clobriel, he has the bullet points stating a new feature, default game profiles, which balances frame rates and energy use for select titles. A new feature is going to be coming to the device, enhanced docking experience, AI powered automatic super resolution or auto SR. New features are also another new feature, highlight reels, which I'm not even sure what it is, but if it is what it sounds like, well, there you go. Ongoing improvements in performance to both the battery life and games compatibility. So again, they've already, the console just came out and they're already going to be dropping these new updates, according to Clobriel, very soon. But look, again, just do your homework, folks. Watch the videos, watch the usage of it. Like, again, I am going to be doing little clips of me actually using it, but that takes time. That takes time for me to actually record it, edit it, get it up there, do shorts. It's a lot. And again, with the reviews that I'm doing, it's been too much on my plate, to be honest with you, but we're gonna get it done. Look, great way to open up the show. I do want to get into what Sarah Bond had to say regarding next generation in that ABC interview. But I do want to get into a story that VGC did regarding the PlayStation 6 being less powerful than the next Xbox, but also less expensive. And I've seen some prices out there. And folks, I'm here to tell you, you know what? Let me save my thoughts because they're very pointed. So, look, before we get into the super chats, I'm asking the chat for another favor here, and it's not giving me super chats. No. Everyone knows Keasante because he's one of the most gentleman-like people that are part of this community. And we all know how I personally feel about putting people on my shoulders, which are pretty broad, and getting them to goals that they'll get there eventually. But I'm always that kind of guy that likes to help without having to be asked to help because it's the right thing to do. I've done it with numerous channels, both big and small. And Keasante, if you didn't know, has a incredible Saturday morning show that he does with Everborn Saga called the Gaming Circle Podcast. It is one of my favorite shows to watch. I don't watch it normally, live because the weekends are for Mrs. Boom, but I always catch it on the replay. This week, though, I'm going to be guesting for a little bit. Then we're going to talk about our experiences with the handheld, the Xbox Ally X and S. Everborn and I both have it, so we're going to be talking about it. He is 30 subscribers away from 3K, folks. So what I'm about to do is I am going to drop his link in the chat and ask a favor. The link is there. Please copy and paste that link and go sub this man's channel, and let's get him to 3K live on the air. I told him I was going to do it. I promised him that I would get it done. Now, maybe that promise is a little bit bullish, but it's 30 people. We have nearly 400 people here. I'm sure that there's at least 30 people right now in this chat that weren't subscribed, didn't know they weren't subscribed, or at least know of Keasante. He's a gentleman gamer. He does great work with the community. He spends the money to go to these events where he's spending his own money to go to these events and do coverage. So I would ask you as a good community member to do me a favor. Get over there and subscribe to his channel right now, and let's get him to 3K live on the air. I thank you very much, Gotham Guy. I super appreciate it. And speaking of incredible community members, if you don't know the story between me and Gotham Guy, I got a chance. Now, in 2019 was my first E3 ever. I've never been to E3. It was on the bucket list kind of a thing. And I think at that point, I only had 2 years of Breakfast with Boom. And I came from Crossfire, which wasn't really a show that a lot of people had high opinions about because it was, Crap and Mooch are who we thought that they were, unfortunately. And that followed me a little bit. So I didn't get in. I tried. I certainly tried to get into the Xbox, showcase. And I didn't make the mark. I didn't get picked. Okay, great. So I flew out to LA on the advice and guidance of the Iron Lords. You know the story about me stealing, jacking King's car. It didn't really go down that way, but some people, the way the story has evolved over the years, I stole his car. I really didn't, but it was a nice car and I did drive it. So there you go. But Gotham Guy had DM'd me that his he got into the showcase, and his +1 wind up blowing out their shoulder in the gym, which of course is terrible. Hopefully whoever that was, they had their surgery and they're good to go. They're back in the gym. But he DM'd me and he's like, Boom, listen, my +1 is out. Do you want to, come to the thing? And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? That's incredible. And Xbox was excellent. They were so good with it. Like he literally said, yeah, contact this person. They put me on the list. I was in my first E3 ever. I sat next to King David. Right behind me was Jez Corn of Windows Central. On the left of me, at the time, he wasn't, he didn't lose his mind or anything. It was Tim Dog, who was at the time an Xbox guy. Not so much now, but it was an incredible experience. I was in the 9th row, and Gotham Guy was sitting like right next to me and King and everybody. And we got a chance not only to see Tim Schafer come out and say that Double Fine was just acquired by Microsoft, but Keanu Reeves came out. He was within arm's distance of it. It was an incredible experience, and that's all thanks to Gotham, guys. So shout out to you, brother. Once again, I'm always going to be grateful for the opportunity that you presented to me all those years ago. And shout out to Juby, 2011, Timothy Dog. Yeah, that's Dirk Riggedy when he does the voiceover from the supposed secretary for Xbox. That is hilarious, brother. That is very funny. But, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. I'm going to reset before we get into the super chats. I'm going to refresh his page and see if he's gotten to that 3K. He's close, folks. He's 20 away. He's 2,980 something. I don't have access to his studio. You can get the real numbers there, but folks, we got to help this man out. Again, he's a gentleman gamer. One of the community's absolutely finest. So I'm gonna put his link in there again, and please subscribe, man. I mean, again, this is you want to see the good guys win. At least I do, and I think you do as well. So we're talking about 20 humans. There's 400 people here. Come on, folks, help a brother out, and let's get him over the hump of 3K. I would greatly appreciate it. But let's get into the super chats before we start talking about the PlayStation 6 and it being less powerful. Folks, I got some thoughts. Julia in the chat drops a very generous €250, not $250, but a $2.50 euro. So, Julia, thank you so much for that. And I'm happy to hear this. He says, I'm getting my ROG Xbox Ally next week. Hopefully, fingers crossed for you, brother. You're going to have a really good time. It is a very nice presentation right out of the box. I'm telling you, the minute you hold this thing, it just feels natural. Pause, because I know what you guys and gals are thinking. Take it easy. This is a PG-13 show. But yeah, it's just the way that, I mean, it literally just feels like you're holding an Xbox controller with a screen. It really does feel comfortable. And again, the weight factor, because of course, obviously it's the big boy. It is not that bad. I thought it was going to be worse. I kind of feel like the original ROG was heavier than this thing. It just, there you go. So it feels just really good. And I don't want to name the name because I don't want anybody to watch this stupid video, but someone tried to do a video where they said that their thumb kept hitting the armory crate button. Folks, I'm telling you, unless you are trying to do that, that's not happening. The stick is far enough away from the Xbox button, the armory crate button. I just think people try so hard to be anti-Xbox so they can get views. Listen, I've gone on a blocking streak for the last couple of weeks. It's been of legendary of status, but that's because people want to be a-holes. And I'm folks, I'm 55. I ain't got time for this shit. I just don't. But our generous friend all the way once again from Hawaii is gifted one double barrel gaming membership. That, of course, is Nino Vestic. Brother, that is very kind of you. And as always, man, thank you so much for the incredible support and your generosity. Quan the Terrible, who is an incredible member of this community, has been a channel member for 18 months. So thank you so much for that, brother. We super appreciate the support. Mac22 drops a very generous $2 super chat, and this is really good. That's a great point. I actually did make mention of this in my review. Well, it's not my review, my unboxing. The speakers on this thing are so good. You know something? The speakers on again, I don't know for the ROG Ally, I mean the Xbox Ally, but the Xbox Ally X, it's so they're so good. I wind up putting them down to like 30, 38, or 40 because it's actually too loud, which is crazy. The speakers on this thing are really, really good. That's a great point, Mac22. Thank you for the generosity as always, brother. LMNOPO, my brother, what's going on? Nice to see you here as always, and thank you for the very generous $5 super chat. He says, I'll be setting up my Xbox Ally X this weekend. I'm curious if the panel is trying out the hibernate versus sleep mode. Someone sent me how to do that look, I'm going to be honest with you. What I honestly do is whatever game I'm playing, some I can talk about, some I can't. Save, I make sure that I save, and I just power down the device. I know that there is those modes. I mean, I had to go to sleep and I started it up with no problem whatsoever. And like I said, for me, I mean, you really can't see it, but I have it literally sitting behind the switch, and it's docked. I have the wire plugged in, so it's always charging. And the dock that a lot of people didn't know was actually a thing. Yeah, there's a dock for this thing. It's great. I mean, it's a little pricey. I'm going to be honest with you, but I'm all about that name brand stuff. You can go to Amazon. You definitely can get a cheaper one for like 30 or 40 bucks. That's going to do the exact same thing. But I kind of wanted the ROG one, and I bought it. It's about 130 bucks. It's a little pricey. I had some couponage from Best Buy. You know, every time you spend a certain amount of money, they give you a coupon. It just sits in your account. I'm like, oh, I can take off 30 bucks. That's nice. So that's exactly what I wound up doing. Whole grain bread. This is sad, man. Ace Frehley of Kiss has passed away. My God. I mean, listen, the last year, man, all of the icons from the 70s and 80s are going, man. Like, I'm a 70s baby. Yeah, Ace Frehley, man, he passed away yesterday, and this is coming off of Tonobu Itagaki passing away, who was just 58 years old, a couple years older than me. And what's sad about that? I mean, it's always sad that somebody passes away, but Ninja Gaiden 4 is about to come out, right? Like, my God, it's just, yeah, man. You know, hold your loved ones close, folks, because you just never know. But yeah, shout out to Whole Grain Bread for the $2 super chat, and he says, "Rest in peace, Ace Frehley." Indeed, man. He really wasn't that old, especially in 2025 days. But Crispy Bomb, I want to go right back to you, brother. Oh, no, wait, hold on. We got some breaking news here. This company, Brett Bingham in the chat said, "Boom, go to your DM forthwith." Okay, so we have a story that's breaking. I'm not going to talk about it because there's not enough here to talk about. I'm going to wait. I got to watch his video. Ecstasies, who is, by the way, shout out to that man. Xbox sent him I believe it was the Xbox Ally that he got. That's phenomenal. Again, I have high praise for Ecstasies because not only do I don't know him like, hey, he's going to invite me to his place in Spain. We don't know each other like that. I've worked with him a couple of times. I really like the work that he does. He's on it. People give him shit all the time about him not having, connections. Folks, I'm here to tell you he has connections, and he's well recognized because Xbox sent him the console. Good for him. I wanted to say that publicly. I love seeing the good guys win, ladies and gentlemen. You don't understand. And you know what? I didn't get it. I bought it. That's fine. Because honestly, if I had to do the review on that as well, I'd have a breakdown. Honestly, I'm not even being like funny. It's a lot that the channel is doing right now. We have been entrusted to do several reviews, and it's a lot of pressure when it's just you. Like the Iron Lords has a team of humans. I have Mrs. Boom handling all the finances of the channel. Thank God for that. And I handle all of the actual in front of the camera stuff. And the script writing, I handle all that because she's still working. So it's a lot. But I am so happy for him because I do think that he does great work. And speaking of great work, he did make a post. Thanks to Brett Bingham for sharing this with me. And he says, breaking. Without any notice, Xbox has just given a new teaser about its next generation with Steam, codename in AMD, as you know, Magnus. So he has a link to his video. I'm going to watch his video after, but I don't have it. It's not enough here to do a conversation. So what will probably happen with this is I'm going to reach out to him, see what he can give me, and we'll talk about it on Monday or Tuesday's show. But I do want to go right back to Crispy Bomb. Crispy, for the last couple of weeks, Xbox has had to come out and defend themselves through, accusations of, this all started with the price increase, and that is valid smoke. folks. I am not getting off of this soapbox. I am just not. I think that the price increase is egregious at best, and it's $5 too much in my opinion. And I'm going to continue to give them the smoke for that. But from there, that was well-deserved smoke. Any price increases are. I'm sorry. I'm a consumer first, folks. That's it. You had the no hardware thing, right? And that Xbox had to come out and say it. Then, of course, you had the falsification of Walmart and Target pulling stock of Xbox because of what happened with Costco. More Xbox having to come out and be like, no, that's not in fact the truth. Well, the other day, ABC News ran a piece with Sarah Bond, and of course, it was surrounding the launch of the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X. And the reporter that went was shown a room that Sarah Bond said herself that we don't normally bring people back here. And it was their room where they were, she said it, prototyping the next Xbox console. Now, she didn't say consoles. At least I don't recall there being an S there. But she did say that they're working on next generation hardware, clearly on live TV when she was being interviewed. Well, there you go, folks. But what's interesting is pricing is going to be a big hurdle for next generation hardware. And that means everyone. So if you take a look at some of the conversations that the PlayStation or the ponies, if you want to call them that, have been having about the PlayStation 6, well, there are rumors circling that there are going to be 3 flavors. It's going to release with not 2 SKUs, which Xbox got all the arrows for. It's going to release with 3. One is a dockable PlayStation Portal 3, supposedly. There is a lesser powered S model of the PlayStation 6. And of course, there's going to be the big boy. And the running rumor or the conversation that's trying to be pushed upon the gaming conversation is that this thing is going to be $500. Folks, look, I'm here to tell you, if you are running with a $500 PlayStation 6, you need help. It's basic math, ladies and gentlemen, because right now, the PlayStation 5 Pro is nearly $800. So what the hell does it make sense that Sony is going to sell you a $500 PlayStation 6? Does that make any sense? It doesn't. So let's just stop it. And if you're wondering what the lesser powerful, lesser expensive PlayStation 6 is going to be, it's probably going to be at minimum $800 for the middle device. I don't know what the handheld is going to go for, but it's certainly not going to be $500. Listen, folks, the way that the market is going right now, these consoles are going to be expensive, which is probably why the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro are going to be their savior, because it's still going to be around. I mean, people are still playing on the PlayStation 4 for crying out loud. But I just want to get your thoughts on this, Crispy, because you saw it. You know, you and I have been talking in DMs, and the fact that there is this goalpost moving scenario where, and again, walk with me on this, folks, this particular situation. The way it's been with Sony and their PlayStation fans, and even some games media for sure, has been, first it was power, right? Power was super important. But before power was super important, and apparently it doesn't seem to be that's the case now looking into next generation, because we've seen multiple articles written where the Xbox is going to be very powerful, but the PlayStation 6 is going to be less powerful, but consumer less expensive. But I thought power was important, Crispy Bomb. But let's just take a few steps back. Let's go back in time, because there was a point where Xbox wasn't putting out banger after banger after banger. As a matter of fact, I think this is the first year that I can remember where at the end of the year, they're going to have over 12 first-party games. That is pretty ridiculous. but it was the games that they didn't have. It's the games that Sony had. So now it's no longer the games, because Colin Moriarty himself, and I got to name the name, said that he's okay with just one AAA game a year. Oh, is that so? Because that's not what it was a couple of years ago. So you see what I'm saying, folks? This goalpost moving scenario is to a point where, and I think Crispy might have been the one to say this, if an Xbox is on a shelf, it's bad because it's not selling. If it's an Xbox not on a shelf because it's sold, it's Xbox is not producing consoles. So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there is a... Yes, sir.
Gaz was out there and in the Twitter streets trying to argue that one too. I saw some screenshots. Sorry, Gaz, but silly take. There's like,
I didn't even see it.
Nope. If the shelf doesn't have any Xboxes, oh, Xbox is dead. But if it has too many Xboxes, then Xbox is dead. Like that means they're not selling any. I was like, what? So they're getting out of the industry if they don't have Xboxes.
Right.
Sure.
Well, you know what? I want you to reiterate your point, because I didn't see that. Not that I don't follow Gas. I still follow him. And he's not like muted or anything. I just didn't see it in my feed, because obviously I try to disattach myself from social media, because like Paris says, it's not real. But Crispy Bomb, on that note, let's get your thoughts on this double standard thing, because we know that the PlayStation 6, folks, here's the thing. The PS6 is going to be a monster-sized machine. Make no mistake. It is not going to be a piece of crap. It is going to be a monster-sized machine. But again, it's rumors, folks, that it's going to come in underpowered to the series, whatever it's going to be called, and somehow that's okay because it's going to be cheaper. I kind of want to get into this because it is a really flip of a coin situation, and they are really flopping back and forth with this thing. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the camp that I'm gonna stick with the Series X for a while. To think that it's going to be somehow cheaper than what's out right now seems illogical.
Yes, I agree.
So, like, technically I could probably sell my Series X for at least like $50 more than what I paid for it. Think about that. And that's including all the stuff that came with it. I paid more. So I don't know, like, to say that they're going for the more powerful at the launch is logical. I mean, they did that with the Series X. PS5 Pro came out for a reason. So I'm kind of in the camp right now, just wait and see what actually, the specs are and all that, and what technology they're going to bring, because I think that's the most important thing to sell me. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm probably going to wait, just like I have been for a while now. So that's about it.
Well, let me get your thoughts on the PlayStation situation, the other side of the coin, because there is a conversation happening on social media, and again, it's all nonsense, but somehow the PlayStation 6 coming in underpowered. That's the wording they're using, underpowered, as opposed to whatever the next Xbox is going to be. Project Magnus. It's okay because it's going to be cheaper. But I thought power was important, Crispy.
I think they're going off of brand loyalty right now. They see engagement and how they're selling the console right now, and they're hoping they're probably going to price just as high as Xbox would. Is it going to bring that back-end technology, the ability to eventually play PC games on that box? Is that going to be a selling point for Microsoft? Will it be a downplay for PlayStation? Maybe that's why they're thinking 3 SKUs that try to hit different price points, like the Series S did for Xbox. They're doing the same thing. They're copying in their own way. We'll see. I mean, I think the technology that Xbox is trying to bring is really going to revolutionize gaming, and that's the way I look at it. Am I willing to wait for it? Absolutely. My Series X works great. I don't know if PlayStation feels the same way, like, hey, we still have all these PlayStation 5s out there. So I think it's going to be a weird generation, this next one, like really weird. And, there's going to be a lot of narratives thrown out there. Don't, do your own research. That's all I could really say about the social media thing. And you want to call people out? I do all the time. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people need to be called out. Hypocrisy is just, it can't be only tolerated for so long. So, yeah, I mean, the next gen is definitely, it's going to be a fun one.
It is, and it's supposed to arrive in 2027. The rumor for PlayStation is that it might arrive a little bit later, so it's 28 potentially for them, which seems more likely considering where Xbox is currently with their hybrid handheld device and the rumored OEM device releasing for the TV under the box underneath the TV for next year. We will see. You know what? We had him drop out and he dropped back in. Silent Cypher, let's bring you in on this because again, it's a conversation that is one of those open-ended ones. Again, I have the story in front of me, so let me just give credit where credit is due. And of course, I'm going to add this if I haven't already to the show notes if you want to read it. This story comes from VGC or the videogameschronicles.com. And one of their authors I happen to really like, Chris Scullion, is a great reporter there. And again, I've already talked about it publicly where I've had an opportunity to meet the owner of VGC and Andy Robinson, gentleman of a man, if I'm being honest. The story goes on to say the next Xbox should be stronger than the PlayStation 6, but more expensive, a new report claims. And in the subcategory, it says a look at the next Xbox's alleged processor suggests a PC console hybrid. This is not new information. But again, I'm going to read a little bit before I hand you to Mike. He says, according to Chris Scullion, that's according to a new report by Moore's Law is Dead. Now, I'm going to be honest with you folks. I wouldn't trust this dude if you offered me $1 million. He has gotten it way wrong more times than he's gotten it right. I'm sorry. His track record is not good, but we are going to use the story that VGC wrote for context. He says, who recently posted a video showing that he claims to be the main processor for the next Xbox console. And of course, this code name is from, and it's an AMD chip. It's codenamed the Magnus APU. And according to this report, the APU combines a CPU and GPU on a single chip, which will be the largest one ever used in a game's console, according to the YouTuber, who claims that it will be 46% larger than any one chip being used for the PlayStation 6. I'm going to stop there. Again, people, the no-namers that we do here on this channel, were running narratives, running victory laps, that they were getting some sort of a $500 PlayStation 6. And again, folks, these are grown men. I'm embarrassed for them because you just got to do the math. And that's why we don't mention the names, because we don't want to embarrass anybody. At least I don't personally. They're already doing that to themselves, and I'm not going to help their cause. Anyone that says that the next PlayStation 6 is $500, I do have a bridge here in New York that is very expensive, but I will sell to you for a couple of $1 million. We'll work out the details. Don't send me a rubber check, though. But let's get your thoughts on this, because, again, I like to watch the trends. And at one point, it was the games. And to be fair, Xbox did not have a lot of games, especially when it came to first party. But now that they do, one game per year is okay, right? That is, and it wasn't just Colin that said that. I saw a lot of people say that. But now the power, right? Because they keep comparing the PlayStation 5 Pro to the Series X, which it is more powerful. It is an upgrade. Is it ultra powerful towards it? No. Does the X still do things better? Yes. But it's a little bit more powerful. And power was super important. It was the brand, the badge that these knuckleheads, these ponies ran around with. But now power, not so much important. What's the next narrative? I'm wondering. Let's get your thoughts there, brother.
Well, yeah, just like you said, Colin is very well known for going out there and stepping on the rake, just like Microsoft likes to step on a rake sometimes.
Indeed.
But yeah, I'd still love the gif of less is more coming from that knucklehead. You know, it's fun to see because, like, let's see if he keeps that same energy when when the system comes out and everyone's like, oh, this thing's not performing well, like at all as far as specs because it's the cheaper one. That PlayStation S model or whatever, that one makes me nervous. I'm sure it'll be fine. You know, people slammed the Series S as a potato for a long time and still do. So it is what it is. It's a capable system. It still runs plenty of stuff just fine. So I'm sure this one will be fine. But I love when they step on it and then their house is doing the exact same thing. Like just a little bit later, we find out about that. So about the Magnus project that you were talking about, that is an interesting one for me. The idea that that chip is going to be bigger makes me think if that's the case, I really want to see what they're going to do as far as the cooling. If this is a legitimate thing, if it's actually coming, I want to see what their cooling looks like for this. Because I'm sure there were some people who didn't end up dealing with this like we did, but you know, anyone who had to go through the Red Ring of Death days of 360 knows that like that was not a fun time. We don't we don't like thinking about that anymore. I don't I will never forget how many of those systems we had stacked on top of each other back in the office because I was still working. I was working at the game store at that point still, and we had like at a given time, I think we had about 50 or 60 of those things that had been returned because of Red Ring at the time. And the person who came in to get all of our defective and damaged stuff, he only showed up like once every month or so because our regional was all over the place, right? And so he was doing the damage control, trying to get these things out of the way. But meanwhile, we had this just massive wall of systems sitting there just against the wall. And it was like the most demoralizing thing as an Xbox fan at the time, because you're just like, dude, this sucks so bad. Like everyone wants to be playing the games. And between that and between people accidentally scraping their discs and stuff by knocking it over, it was not a good time. So I think if there's anything for us to learn on this, if this is true, that this is going to be a bigger chip, I want to see them doing some real good heat dissipation. I want to see the cooling on this, and I really, really hope that they're doing everything that they can to ensure that it is dissipating as fast as possible. Obviously, technology has gotten a lot better now. A lot of the cooling solutions and stuff are much better now. So, I mean, you look at something like the Xbox Series X, and the cooling that they do for that is really good. Like everything's very compressed in that system, but the way that they do that cooling has worked out really well. I was skeptical initially, but when I saw the thing actually operating, like it's super quiet, it runs really well with that cooling. So that would be my main concern for this chip. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see some of the takes out there on this stuff recently. And to the $500 PlayStation thing, I don't see it. I mean,
Nope.
it's the same thing with the Xbox, right? Is like when the new systems come out, we're all going to have some sticker shock because realistically, these things will be on the higher end. You're looking probably, I would say, 800, 900, like depending on what it is and what version it is. There are going to be expensive systems. If we're seeing a handheld that's coming out at $1,000, what makes you think that that
Thank you, sir.
under the
Common
TV
sense.
one is going to be any cheaper? Like, yeah, it's going to be in the ballpark. If not, maybe we'll end up seeing higher. It depends, right? Because if Microsoft has third parties that are making hardware as well, you can have some that are geared towards a very bespoke piece of hardware, right? Like you could easily see someone out there with a third party box where its focus is to only do 1080p but run at super high frame rate. Or you could also see one where they do a top tier that does everything all at your 1440 or higher and does it at ultra settings. And you will pay for that box, and you will pay a lot for that box. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it at this point in time because things are very expensive everywhere.
Yep.
Tariffs obviously will affect us in this situation. We're seeing it now. We'll continue to see it if things stay in place the way they are. And so, it was already going to be expensive, but now it's going to be really expensive with some of these extra additions to our bills. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't see any world where a system comes out at 500 again. This is probably this next gen that's coming will probably be the last gen of consoles, of physical consoles, realistically, like as we know them. But even then, they're shifting to more of a hybrid cadence, which gets me excited, especially seeing the handheld and seeing what it does and kind of where they're going with this. Like, it gets me excited to see what these systems are gonna actually be. But the prices are not going to be $500. Like that's a hope and a dream. And if you're paying 500 for it, that's got to be like the most bare bones version possible, I would imagine.
Again, it's hard to imagine that a PlayStation 5 Pro is nearly $800 in 2025. And again, I mean, listen, we don't know when the next PlayStation is going to come out. It's rumored to be towards the end of 27, which is still 2 years away, or possibly more so into 2028. And that's been a rumor that's been running around where they were going to come out that Xbox was going to jump them a year, like they did with the 360. Again, folks, these are going to be expensive consoles. What Xbox is doing, I think, has a bigger, broader market draw, simply because it's going to be an open sourced box, allowing you to play all of your stores on this device. I think you're going to see how that's going to look and act next year on the rumored OEM device, which I believe is going to be Asus. I really believe that's who they've teamed up with, simply because they've just teamed up with them and released a pair of handhelds just yesterday. So if they're already working with them, it's good to assume, and we don't say about when you assume that they could be working with them for this, Steam box thingamajig. So we'll see what happens. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your thoughts on this, because again, this has been a big topic of conversation. And I wanted, before I hand you to Mike, read a quote here from Moore's Law is Dead, that is a part of this story from videogameschronicles.com. And of course, it was written by Chris Scullion. And the quote goes on to say, according to Moore's Law, it should be stronger than the PlayStation 6, but at the same time, it would also be more expensive because of its larger size and its use of bridge dies, and likely a larger RAM capacity compared to the PlayStation 6. And he goes on to say, at least if it wants to work well as a PC console hybrid, he explained. I want to get your thoughts on this, because again, we all kind of know this already. The hybrid, I think it's safe to say that what people picked up yesterday in their new handhelds is going to be the starting point of what their next console is going to look like. Now, again, the rumor is we're going to see what that potentially looks like next year in the first home console underneath your TV OEM device. I mean, again, rumor, but we also have heard that 2027 is going to levy these two devices, both in the same. It's going to be two SKUs, a dockable and the box underneath your TV. And it's expected to be, I mean, Sarah Bond said it herself, the most powerful console that they've ever made. So let's get your thoughts on some of the conversation. And you've seen it because you laughed at it. A $500 PlayStation 6. I find it to be hilarious at best.
Yeah. All right. So where to start? I'll start with my predictions on pricing on the PS6 and where that will fall power wise. I do think PlayStation will look at a 2 SKU approach this go around. I don't think they'll do a 3 SKU. I don't think they're going to do a low powered one and a dockable. I think it's more than likely that will be one in the same, and then there'll be the under the TV one, which will be your standard PS6. I don't think they're going for pro level output. It will outdo the current Pro, but I don't necessarily think that they're targeting what Xbox is targeting for their main under the TV box. Although I do think they wind up doing a 2 SKU that may eventually turn into a 3 SKU. So I'll get to that in a minute. But $600 is the bare minimum. I think 600 is doable because in a way Xbox is going to force their hand with the lower price SKU that they offer, which I'm wondering what this would look like. But to replace the Series S, I think what we'll see is something that's similar in power and spec in between these two ROG Xbox allies. I think we'll see something in that ballpark, so that way the relevance of those handhelds lasts longer because there will be a box specifically that the console publishers for console will have to spec within, and that will carry over where these will be play anywhere games, and it'll be playable on that handheld that people just bought, as well as the lesser expensive box for getting into next gen. So I think there'll be something in that range on Xbox's side that'll also be around 600 for an under the TV box. The Magnus, I'll get to in the pricing in a minute, but anything below 600, I think is a dream when it comes to PS6. The days of 500 is long gone, unless there is some serious backtracking on the tariff wars between us and China. Yes, there are other places where PlayStations and Xboxes can be built. Don't think that they're going to be built in the U.S. While some are built in the U.S., those are usually the ones you see that are for contests and things like that. So a lot of the custom Xboxes that you see, those are stateside ones that are, I wouldn't say handmade, but pretty much along those lines. When it comes to PlayStation, it's like less than 10%, if I'm not mistaken, that are stateside. And usually those are the ones that they wind up gifting to celebrities or influencers and things along those lines. So don't expect anything stateside built in great number. So unless the tariff wars, backtrack a good bit, or one side caves, whatever the case may be, 600 is the bare minimum. And I expect that there will be a lower spec PlayStation in that ballpark. It might be upwards of $699, but I don't think we're quite there yet. If we keep on baiting or taunting China, yeah, we will see something above the $699. But I think a lower spec PlayStation could be in that range. A standard PlayStation, like what would be equivalent of the PS5, but for the next gen, I think that will be upwards of between $700 and $750. There won't be as big of a price difference between the lower spec and the upper spec when it comes to PlayStation, because they're going to try their best to make profit or take as little a loss as they possibly can. So you might see a difference of no more than 100 or 150 between the two specs, meaning that the lesser one would probably be a bit of an overcharge so they can make profit on it quicker. When it comes to Magnus, yes, Xbox is once again going for the power narrative, as far as that's something that Phil talked about years ago. And I think that's a lot of their execs are looking for that, as far as having that Halo project or product that they can sell for under the TV. There will always be a upper SKU. Now, will they do a mid-gen refresh? I think they'll leave that to the OEMs, as far as they'll have a reference build type of item that they can spec off of that could be the equivalent of a mid-gen refresh, but themselves. I don't think that it's worth the R&D in that regard. I think they'll go as high as they can for their top line spec under the TV box, but I have a hard time believing that it's going to exceed 800. Because I think they will still subsidize. I know a lot of people don't believe that they're going to do subsidies anymore. The reason why these Xbox Allies are as high as they are is because it's not an actual Microsoft product, which they would subsidize. So that $50 to $100 bump in price in comparison to what was originally leaked would have been the difference if it had been a Microsoft product versus an Asus product. But then again, if it was a Microsoft product, it would probably be a year out as far as the build. So with them focusing on the consoles like they are, so we can hopefully have them for holiday of 26, I would say expect their top end to be 750 under the TV, probably closer to 750. Hopefully it's 2 terabyte instead of just 1 terabyte, considering the price on storage is definitely dropped. Memory, I'm thinking the lower end one is going to be somewhere between 16 and 24 gigabytes of memory. The higher end will be 24 plus. I'm thinking 32. I don't think it'll be quite the 48, although I know some of the leak stuff said it can be up to 48. That would be where companies like Asus or Alienware or whomever wants to make a Xbox console spec device will more than likely go beyond the 32. And then you'll be paying that premium price well above the 800. I totally expect to see an Alienware Xbox to be somewhere around $1,100 on your TV. It'll have 48 gigabytes of memory. It'll probably have at least 2 terabytes of storage, if not more, and faster memory and everything that all the bells and whistles you can imagine. And it will probably rival a good, 40 series equipped PC that's, pre-built kind of deal. It won't be spec for spec as good, but it will be close enough to the untrained eye that it will be passable for 4K 60 gaming pretty handedly. 4K 120 on some lesser graphically intense stuff, but I think a lot of what we kind of need to expect for pricing is expect to pay more than 500 no matter what, unless you're trading in your previous console, which it might be better to sell it privately than to trade it in, because we all know GameStop is going to hit us over the head. Sure, it'll seem like a good value that they're giving you 400, but somebody else will probably be willing to pay 500 or 600 for it privately, considering what these prices are going to be. So we'll see what all of this works out to be, but I just find it funny that, it's like, well, Xbox is going to be more powerful, but it's more expensive. It's like, well, of course you would expect to pay more for power, but it is what it is. But I'm not looking forward to these prices, but we'll see how things work out. I expect that Xbox is going to do a pretty good job on cooling. I don't know if we'll go full liquid cool at that point, although it is a good possibility, but I would say the OEMs will probably do with liquid cooling, and that's where some of the price jump will go. There's been very good stuff with the vapor chamber and over air with some of the radiators and piping and stuff like that. So that stuff has gotten a lot better over time. And AMD stuff can run hotter than Intel stuff for the most part. And I wouldn't necessarily worry about Red Ring of Death. I mean, I'm still kind of worried about my PS5 that I put in the vertical mode, but it is what it is. If that liquid metal stuff starts, dripping or pulling or whatever. But all in all, I think this next gen of consoles are going to be a bit pricey, but 600 plus range. I think the biggest thing is this will be, unfortunately, I like keeping my old stuff, but this will be one of the times where I'll more than likely, for price concerns, have to trade in the previous gen stuff to get the next gen stuff. We'll see what the physical media side of things looks like, if there's like an add-on drive for these things. I'm still kind of surprised. I know there's a lot of physical only people out there, but I'm still surprised that we've gone this long with physical media in these consoles. I mean, looking at PC, other than a few like limited run stuff, I think Bethesda was the last ones doing physical media with Doom. What was it, 2016? And
that
then
was the last one. Yep.
And then when it came to Flight Sim, but that was a third party doing the prints for the disc, and I think it wound up being something like 6 or 8 discs for Flight Sim. The not the 2024, the 2020 version that was out there, and that, like I said, was a third party. So expect physical media, guys. You're going to have to become digital guys, unless you want to stay in the previous gen. Which, luckily with Xbox with cloud, you'll be able to use these series consoles well into the next generation by playing whatever the next generation games are through the cloud on that device. And it'll be the same for the Xbox One crowd. The PS4 crowd, you're kind of beat. I don't foresee them making cloud accessible gaming as far as for PS6 games for PS4, because they haven't even done it for PS5 games on the PS4 at this point, at least to my knowledge. Could be wrong, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next gen. Just my wallet isn't, and I'll leave it at that.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's gaming is definitely it seems like it's going into the luxury aspect of things unless you do free to play. And I don't know. I mean, look, again, it's going to be a very interesting next generation for sure. I do find it funny that the goalpost continues to move. If it's not first party, then it's power. If it's not power, it's not a real handheld. It's just, again, I find it to be hilarious at best. But ladies and gentlemen, I got to catch up on super chats, and then we're going to get everyone out of here so you can start your Friday. Keeper has gone live, and I want to definitely get that. I want to download that on my console and on the handheld, because I'm definitely going to play that. I'm very much looking forward to the newest Tim Schafer joint, if you will. We have a couple super chats here from Moolah Gaming. Drops not one but two $2 super chats. So, brother, thank you so much for the generosity. Great to see you here. He says, boom, I bought 10 years worth of Xbox Game Pass at $20 a piece. I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean, I am paid up until, because I got 3 months free with the Xbox Ally X. So that was pretty cool. I can't use it yet because I just signed up a 3-month card. So it's just sitting there waiting for me to redeem. I also have a year's worth in my drawer that I picked up from Amazon. They were 3-month cards for $56. I don't know if they still have them, but like I said, folks, again, I'm never going to pay full boat. I'm just not. I'm going to go out of my way to be a really good consumer and try and get Game Pass, as great as it is, for as cheap as I can find it. Yeah, I mean, I listen, again, I believe it is still the best deal in gaming, but it's going to be hard to see that 3-month card at $90. That is a yikes moment for me. Like I said, I'm going to do my due diligence to be a really good consumer, as you should as well. But we also have here Double K24, who's been a channel member for an insane 52 months, brother. That is incredibly generous of you, Double K. Super appreciate the generosity. He says, good morning, Boom and friends. I can see the future where MS/Xbox having the same OS running on PC, laptops, and Xbox. He says he believes that this is going to be Xbox's game changer in a major way. Oh, listen. Again, you've heard a lot of the bigs talk about this. Their goal right now is to have a unified UI across all screens. And that is what I'm hoping for. That is the ultimate dream for Xbox and their designers, is to have what you see on your console, hybrid or otherwise, be identical to what you see on your phone, your tablet, your PC, or whatever. And I think they need to get there, and I believe that they will get there. And we're going to see it. We are going to see it. Like I said, the console experience, still my favorite. But to be honest with you, what I've used so far with the Xbox Ally X, very user-friendly. And I'm not a PC guy. So if I could take it out of the box and run through the menus with no problem, anyone that is used to these handhelds or PCs is not going to have a problem. I do think that it is console gamer friendly, The only thing holding it back from a lot of gamers is the price. The price is a lot. $1,000 or $1,083 after tax is a big asking. So if you're priced out, I hear you, and I wish I could buy one for everybody. Eventually, it'll get cheaper. At least we hope so. Look at me. The broke boy drops not one but $2 super chats, and he says Keeper is showing in the Xbox store, but not in Game Pass. Weird. He says, disregard. I just clicked buy, and it took me to Game Pass. Yeah, I actually saw that before. I actually had to add it to my play later list. It was weird. It's funny because I looked on the handheld and it was telling, it wouldn't give me the Game Pass. I think it was just something with, because I checked on console and it did the same thing. But I'm glad that it's out. People, if you like Double Fine, if you like different, you like weird, Keeper looks like to be a keeper, pun intended. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all the generosity through super chats, channel memberships, gifted subs, and everyone that is subscribed to the channel through channel membership. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate it. We are going to be doing our next $300 giveaway the first week of, I believe it's going to be, our birthday's the 1st, which is a Saturday. I want to say it's going to be the 8th or the 9th of November. We're doing Mrs. Boom's 6th annual birthday bash, where her birthday is going to be November 1st, All Saints Day. But you, fine folks in the chat, are going to have an opportunity to win one of 10 digital Xbox card prizes. And all you got to do to win, folks, is be in the chat. Put the hashtag, which is currently under lock and key, and we let the picker here at StreamYards pick you. And if you win, you win. And if you are outside of the Americas, don't worry about that, folks. We will send it to you via PayPal for the amount of your winnings. So do not worry about that. But let's get everyone out of here. Crispy Bomb, let's sell the brand, brother. Where can people reach out to you on the socials to not only get the crispy truth, but the receipts in tow? And where might you show up next, sir?
At Chris Bomb on X, Chris Bomb 28 Xbox Live, and I don't know about next week, but it'll be on Boom's channel, so we'll see you then.
That's awesome. Great to see you here, brother. Thank you for always dropping those hot news bombs into the DM. I truly appreciate it. Okay, so Silent Cypher, you're not on X, and obviously you probably gained some brain cells because you're not on X, because it is a cesspool of assholes, and not everybody, of course, but there's a good portion of them that just D-bags running around untamed. But listen, sell the brand, brother. Let's talk about what you're personally doing. Let's say where they can reach out to you on the socials, and more importantly, have you had an opportunity to get back to the Xbox International podcast, and of course, sell your own brand, sir?
Yeah, well, always great to be hanging out with you guys in the morning. Crispy, good to see you again. Fuzzy, I apologize because I'll be absent for a minute on the horror side of things. October's a busy month, unfortunately. But Boom, thanks for having me. Yeah, as far as where you can find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, a bunch of other places. But of course, on Xbox as well as Silent Cypher. Yes, so actually we did finally do another Xbox International adjacent thing. Last Wednesday, I think it was. We got together and we ended up doing the Rare morning show.
Oh, nice,
which was pretty cool. Yeah, like it's a change of pace. I was shotgunning a lot of caffeine because I was not very awake yet. But it was good. It was good. It was just myself and Lou. Hopefully eventually we'll get the whole crew back together, but it feels like life has just been very, very busy for everyone. So you can find me on there. And of course, Lou still does his morning shows on a regular basis. So feel free to stop by there. I'm usually hanging out in the chat, swatting ponies in the chat if people sneak in. So you find me there. Yeah, I think that's primarily it for me. You might not catch me too much this month. As I mentioned, Halloween's a busy time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you noticed a lot of masks are missing.
Yeah.
Versus the usual times. There have been a lot of things in the works.
Oh, nice.
A
I'm
lot
looking
of
forward. Take pictures, brother. Put it on the socials.
yes. I'll have plenty of stuff up there, but great seeing everyone in the chat. And yeah, I'm gonna go play some ROG Ally, I think, my Xbox.
Nice. As you should, brother. You should embrace what you spent your money on and download a couple of new games. Keeper in Xbox Game Pass, the newest joint from Double Fine, and of course the studio-led Tim Schafer. So of course I cannot wait to play Tim and his team's newest game. It looks really good, and it's weird, and that's what you love about Double Fine. But listen, before we get everyone out of here and we bring the mic over to Fuzzy Belvedere, I do want to remind you folks, please, I did a post on X for support for Keasante's YouTube channel. He is close, folks. He is super close. I'm going to do a quick refresh here live on the air, and let's see if we got him there. He's close. He's under 20 subscribers away. I'm going to drop the link in the chat once again, folks. Please do me a favor. Head over there and subscribe to his channel. But let me just head over to the live comments and drop that. Yeah, so here it is. Please, folks, help this man who is one of the good guys of social media and, of course, content creation get to 3K. The higher he grows, the more events he's going to be invited to. And, of course, we want to help him get there. But let me get back to the super chats. We have here Piers Taylor in the chat. So, Piers, thank you so much for being here. And thank you very much for the very generous $2 super chat. And he says, we need Steam on the Series X, well, the Series Xbox. I don't know if it's going to come to the Series Xbox or the Series consoles now. You do have access to Steam via the handheld that just released yesterday. And if you buy the dock or buy a usable dock, you can hook that up via, the cables and play that on the big screen mode on your TV. So if, that's certainly one way to do it. I don't think Steam comes to the old consoles. I do know that Steam is definitely going to be apparent in the next console, whether that be the OEM device or their own hardware that they're going to be producing supposedly in 27. But thank you so much for the generosity. We also have a gifted sub from our generous friend, Gamer by Choice, has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership. Brother, that is very kind of you, as you have been all these years. Thank you for the support. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's talk about tonight's show. Obviously, Fright Night with Ferocious V is a horror show. It is Shocktober, ladies and gentlemen. And obviously, we want to see Fuzzy's wife's channel gain momentum, get some subs, and move to its next goal. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to the YouTube channel? But more importantly, tune in on Friday evenings to check it out.
As always, love doing this podcast in the mornings with you, Boom, as well as you, Crispy, and as well as you, Silent Cypher. Sorry you can't be with us tonight, but we will be reviewing Siam, which is a Kung Fu zombie movie. Kind of came up with the idea on Fun Speculations podcast like a week or so ago, where we were like, hey, cool ideas for horror films, and just thought, a Kung Fu flick and zombies would be a nice mesh. So I put a link for the IMDb for the movie. It's Ziam, Z-I-A-M. If you have Netflix, it's on that streaming service at the current moment. We'll be talking about that at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight on my wife's channel. I also put the link in the chat for that as well. Now is a great time to watch, well, obviously with it being October, a great time to watch horror movies, but also a great time to play video games, especially some horror video games out there. There's a ton on pretty much all platforms, but just attack that backlog, have fun out there, and spend less time on social media and more time gaming. You'll be happier for it. So, but
Indeed.
Everybody have a great weekend, and look forward to seeing you guys on Monday right here at 12 noon for Xbox Lunch Break Special.
Appreciate everyone being a part of today's panel. Gentlemen, you all had great things to say, and it was a great conversation to have. A big shout out to I think we have closer to 500 people watching live. And again, apologies if I didn't shout out everybody in here. Of course, Tim the Sorcerer, hopefully you get your Xbox Ally X back in your possession. And again, shout out to everybody that takes the time to support Double Barrel Gaming through their views, through the shares and the likes. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you haven't already, hit the like bell button if you enjoyed the conversation. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Enjoy gaming on whatever device you're gaming on. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.